Marketing is very simple. It's very complex higher mathematics. If the target audience doesn't accept the product, nothing will happen. It doesn't require years. Science. Always keep it close to your heart. Here, probably we should talk about owners of micro, small, and medium businesses. Because large owners perhaps won't even bother with what marketing is, since they're thinking about how to manage this whole machine. A large enterprise, where to steer it at the strategic level. They deal with the ontology of the business, its preservation, development, and so on. That's why marketing is probably more relevant for micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. The first thing that might occur to an owner, the first myth, is that marketing is very simple. What's so complicated about marketing? In reality, that's not the case, because you actually need to understand the subject matter. It's not just advertising, it's not just pushing something, it's not just quoting famous people. It's not about marketers just making something up or figuring out how to sell you something. That's not the case, because marketing is a complex system that takes into account certain components, which I'll explain now. The second myth and the second misconception is that marketing is very complicated. Namely, that there are some marketers sitting around saying smart things. Who are these people? And it's supposedly some kind of advanced mathematics. In reality, no, because marketing, once again, I'll now tell you what it includes. What does it consist of? And basically, this can be a kind of path to understanding. So it's not difficult, but it's not easy either. Marketing is a discipline that, let me remind you again, is responsible for building and maintaining relationships between a business and its target audience. And there is marketing in a company, even if there isn't a marketer. In case there is no marketer, I will explain how to go through the entire marketing chain, how to understand it, and basically what control points a business owner can have. There are 5 aspects that a business owner should pay attention to regarding marketing in their company. This is the mission or the ontology of the business. In this case, the mission can be formulated, but generally ontology is a broader concept because the mission is the reason for the organization's existence, while ontology, in my understanding, relates to marketing. It is the reason for the organization's existence and the way it operates. This is precisely the reason why it is essential for you to consistently and meticulously evaluate what is happening in marketing, and not merely within the marketing sphere, against your comprehensive understanding of the mission and the ontology. In other words, why do you exist, and does this align with your way of acting, so to speak? So the first thing you need to pay attention to may seem like a very philosophical category. In reality, ultimately, it is the dedicated business owner who must carefully ensure that the company's strategic marketing consistently aligns with their core mission or fundamental ontology. That was the first point. The second point that a business owner needs to consider regarding marketing is that they must have a clear understanding of the product they are selling or a clear understanding of the services they are providing. And they need to understand whether they are providing this service in the B2B market, the B2C market, or in both markets. These are the questions they need to answer. After they understand their mission and their ontology, because they might think they're working in the B2B market, but in reality they're in B2C, and vice versa. It can happen, things like that. It might be the case that they're thinking about the product they're selling, but the product is actually part of a larger solution, as I mentioned before, part of some ecosystem, or the service is part of some ecosystem. Moreover, it could be within this ecosystem, for example, a small kind of ecosystem. Well, for example, there is a large construction project, and then there are companies that, for instance, offer some small items for it, or cleaning services, for example. Something rather minor that can be sold both for construction and for other purposes. And you need to clearly answer for yourself the question of exactly what you are selling, exactly what you are offering, in which market, and how people buy. The third point to consider that business owners should pay attention to is the description of the target audience. First of all, what needs to be done when Starting marketing is, in principle, defining the target audience. When launching a product, you can create the product first and then think about how to add marketing to it. But the target audience, who all of this is for, is the key point. If you don't have a target audience, you might have a great mission, you might understand your product moreover, you might understand your competitors in the market, and you might, so to speak, take into account a bunch of different factors. But if the target audience doesn't accept the product, nothing will happen. The target audience can be, again, depending on the market, whether it's B2B or B2C, and whether it's a product, a service, or some complex solution being sold, its description may differ in some way. But in principle, it's desirable to understand your target audience and formally define it, which lately is quite rare. In general, people don't think about a formal description. You really need to write it out. Here we have one avatar, a second avatar, a third. Describe them according to different criteria, which I'll mention later, and always keep them close to you, figuratively speaking, close to your heart. If you keep your target audience close to your heart, your business will be quite successful, and it has a chance to be sustainable. Point number 4. What should a business owner pay attention to regarding marketing? You need to pay attention to the competitive environment and the market as such. That is, you need to understand who your competitors are. There may be a difference between your online competitors and your offline competitors. Besides competitors, there may also be market leaders, or as we call them, benchmarks. That is, there may be a competitor you are currently competing with because you are at the same stage for certain products, and there may be a market leader. You should also pay attention to them. In addition, you can pay attention to market leaders who operate in other geographies, in other countries, because you can bring interesting marketing ideas from there to your own market. So competitors should be considered in different aspects, as I mentioned, as well as the market itself. That is, whether the market is growing or declining. Well, so to speak, think about the characteristics of the market, but at a fairly simple level, without any research. Because research is, first of all, expensive, and secondly, nowadays I think that with the right ABI prompts, you can conduct market research quite well. It's not just through ChatGPT. There are special functions, but in principle, it's quite simple. You need to understand that understanding your competitors and the market doesn't require anything like that. Rocket science? These are fairly simple questions that come to your mind. You just need to sit down and write out the key points for yourself. And for a business owner, that will be enough. If you need to dive deeper, you can get help with that. A marketing agency or marketers whom you bring in for your business can assist you. But to start understanding things, simple questions that characterize your competitors and the market will be enough for you. Point number 5 that a business owner should pay attention to. This is the stage of development of the business. Because at different stages of business development, marketing requires different approaches. If you are just starting out, you use one set of marketing tools. If, so to speak, you have reached a certain plateau, that's a different set of tools. If you are at the stage of rapid growth, there could be a third set of tools. Perhaps the tools themselves may even be similar, but they serve different purposes. That's why it's essential to take into account the stage of development your business is currently at. And accordingly, based on that, think about which tools to use and which people to involve. If you want to bring in a professional digital marketing team of a agency, welcome.